Adi Badenhorst grew up in the historic heartland of South African wine. After years working at some of the world's great cellars, he decided to move north to the Swartland. At the time, it was better known for its wheat fields, and the grapes mainly went to the co-ops to make bulk wine. But he and a handful of other growers saw the potential in the old bush vines and the granite soils, and they turned the Swartland into one of the most exciting wine regions today. At Adi's family farm, Kalmoesfontein, that energy runs through everything. The people, the families that live and work there, the vines, the Thursday night pizzas. It's not just a farm, it's a living, thriving community.
Does it need carafe or no?
No. Just some ice and sugar and some a little bit of lemonade. Look, let's have a quick taste there. So we've got Chenin Blanc.
Okay.
Obviously, we farm with a lot of Chenin Blanc. South Africa is well known for Chenin, Swartland in particular. This is 7 parcels of the older Chenin Blanc.
What is old?
Yeah.
From the 1960s to 1970s.
Okay.
Bit older than me.
Yeah.
The vineyards look a lot better than me. You know, that's called grensloos, which means without borders. It is, which is good. It's got that texture,
Yeah.
but it's still got a bit of freshness and that granite kind of soil on the finish. You know.
That tension on the middle of the palate.
Yeah, and very
bitters.
typical aromatics
Yeah.
of Chenin. We have peaches, white flowers, pear.
Beautiful. Gives me a lot of ideas. I'm gonna let you talk, and I'm gonna go see Brian. I think we have a few dishes that would go well with this.
Oh, amazing. Thank you, Vero. So you grew up in really one of the most historic vineyard areas of South Africa.
Yes, and the area is Constantia.
Yeah.
And grapes have been grown there since the beginning, you know, or since the beginning of Cape viticulture, 1650s.
So what was it like growing up there?
It was amazing. My father farmed, he had some grapes and farmed vegetables, and my parents had a farm store, and he had cows and, you know, plowed with horses. And in those days, it was amazing, you know, and all the farms, tiny little farms, each farm would have had a winery on it way back.
Yeah. You were telling me you tasted a wine from 1791 from Constantia.
Yes, but that is the beauty about wine. Is that you can taste this organic product
Yeah.
from 1791, in the days before Cape Town was even called Cape Town.
It's true.
And the wine was incredible. Look, it was obviously difficult to separate the nostalgia of drinking a wine so old.
That's all part of it, you know, the nostalgia and the history.
Yes. If you go to Burgundy and you taste there and you taste a Chevrolet, and it's 1,000 years of history. But it's also dangerous because it's very difficult to separate the reality of what's in your glass with the mythical and the legend of a place.
That's true.
And that's what makes wine so difficult for people to drink and to approach in many ways, is this historical weight.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because you went from working in some of the finest wine regions, wineries around the world. You were at Chateau Angelus, you were at Alangrejo, you worked in Rustenburg for years.
That's correct.
Moving to the Swartland, which at the time was a pretty obscure region. So what was it about the Swartland that drew you back?
Well, the grapes were so different and they were so unique.
And so in 2008, with your cousin, with your wife,
Yes.
you moved to the Swartland. You buy a winery that hadn't been in operation since the 40s?
We bought a farm that was 60 hectares in extent, maybe 25 or 26 hectares of vineyard on it. Old vines, Chenin, mainly Chenin Blanc, Grenache and Cinsault.
Wow.
A few other bits and pieces. And and this old winery that was completely dilapidated.
What was it like in the early days?
Yeah, well, we had just concrete tanks.
Yeah.
And we fixed them up a bit, cleaned out the place, installed a coffee machine, which is still our most expensive winemaking equipment, and started making wine.
Yeah. We were chatting the other day, and you said to me that the Swartland is like listening to vinyl.
Well, when you approach the place,
Yeah.
for example, when you drive up the road up to my house or to where our farms are, you drive this dust road, and the Paardeberg Mountain is in front of you. There's bush vines. There's a little farm school. There's children playing outside. It is a place of humility, but you can clearly see the complexity in the vineyards. And when you look at those things, you don't need to know anything about wine.
No.
You look at those old bush vines and you think, shit, those things look amazing. There must be something in that soil.
It's special.
The grapes must taste different. Those things end up in the winery. It's like vinyl.
Yeah.
Nothing is downloaded on the cloud and it's through here and here.
Yeah. Nothing's lost in translation.
Nothing whatsoever. It's pure. Hopefully it's pure.
So you move out there. I mean, it's quite a vast wine appellation, the Swartland.
It's massive.
And you're out there, Evan Sadi's out there, Chris and Andrea Mullen
Yes.
come out around the same time.
At Cully Low to Porcelainbach, we'd sit around and we'd taste wine and taste each other's wines.
Is this where the spark for the Swartland Revolution came about?
Yes. The Swartland had been dominated for a long time by one or two big cooperatives.
Yeah.
And they made like really amazing, fantastic wines, but there's just so much more potential. And so the Swartland Revolution gave birth to a movement called the Swartland Independent Producers. Small producers, guys that produced 500 bottles to people that produced 100,000 bottles, that came together, and we decided how to farm, what varietals to use, and we put like a few lines in the sand, It was like going to church and you listen to a sermon, okay? A good sermon comforts the disturbed and disturbs the comforted. It gives you that kind of thing. So you're smug in how you make wine, and there's it makes you think about how you may be farming or how you're making wine. There was a few pointers that sort of pushed and pulled and encouraged, but never excluded.
And as the Swartland's reputation has grown and more people have come into the region, do you feel like that community spirit is still alive and thriving?
Yeah. We gather regularly.
At your place, around your pizza oven.
Yes. Every Thursday night it's become like a gathering place for the whole community and all the winemakers. So guys come there for like incredible pizza and food. In this amazing atmosphere where it's conducive for the exchange of ideas.
So you mentioned your brother was behind the initiative of the pizza restaurant, but you also have your parents at the farm, your wife, your children, your nephews, your nieces. Can you kind of describe what life is like on Constantia?
So initially we bought the farm, my wife and I, Cornelia, with my cousin Hein Badenhorst, with the idea of making wine. And my wife's cousin joined us a few years later. Helena did our social media. And then my mother moved onto the farm next door. And then my brother and his wife moved down from Botswana.
And your dad's out selling wine for you
still? My dad is still driving around. He's 80 years old. He still drives around and calls on restaurants and tries to convince them to buy our wines, And
my son makes really good wines.
Please, And so my dad does that, and both brother-in-laws are also on the farm.
Wow.
The one is helping manage the farm, like as a farm manager. The other one is operating a ceramic studio on the farm. It's a very complex business, but
feels like there's a place for everyone.
100%,
And you have quite a large community of workers and their families also living on the farm as well.
No, that's normal in South Africa.
Of course.
We've now got 150 hectares of bush vines. Everything is, obviously from the pruning, suckering, the tipping, the canopy management, everything is by hand. So we need labor. But we try and, keep people, give them work throughout the year. A lot of places just have got work for a month for people.
And then people need to move on and find something else.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't only eat for 1 month of the year.
Yeah.
You don't only need clothes for 1 month of the year. So we try and employ as many people as we can. And that's why we do the weird stuff like the aperitif, the vermouth
And so if you look at the workers on your farm back in 2008 when you first arrived, and now maybe a next generation, maybe children who were born there and are growing up now, do you see a huge difference in...
The change is slow, you know. The schools around our area aren't great. We try and do as much as we can from like a grassroots level. Selling wine over here and all over the world, a lot of that money does make a major difference in people's lives. You know, from paying school fees to something as silly as buying a pair of shoes. It's not like a child has moved from a farm and is now knocking on Elon Musk's door. Well, maybe they should knock really hard on his door and give him a slap when they get in there. But it's not like that kind of trajectory. But we're trying to
incremental.
We are trying to change the community living on the farm with the right people living, the right kind of role models. Because we all need role models.
Of course.
That is the most important thing, you know.
And while you've traveled around the world of wine, are there any encounters, any exchanges with people that really stick out?
One of the guys that really had a big influence on me is a guy called Serge Rochard from Chateau Muzard. And we became quite good friends. You know, we toured a bit together, and he was an amazing human being. The way he spoke about wine, he said, you know, he's not a religious man, but he said, this wine is the only connection between man and God, and it just takes one drop of wine to appreciate and experience the complete beauty of wine and pleasure of wine.
Absolutely.
Because it is the only product you can taste back to a piece of land. It can come from nowhere else. Yeah. But also you get wines that you drink for pleasure.
Yeah.
Open a bottle of wine and think deeply and write poems about it and, you know, get all retrospect. You just want to have a bit of wine and just drink and not think about it and focus on the people you're with and the food you're eating.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Brian, this smells incredible.
So we're going to start off with our house-made feta. It's a Foxy classic, so we make the cheese in-house. It's on top of a warm butternut squash chutney, finished with a grilled fennel salad and some chrysanthemum and some spicy hazelnuts on top. That's always served alongside our pita that's done in the wood fire oven. And then a new dish on our menu, black cod, Canadian black cod, grilled, finish it in a pan with some juniper butter, smoke all our fish bones to make a beautiful broth to go with that.
Wow.
That looks amazing.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Cheers. Thanks for coming and having lunch with me today.
Thank you. It's been really nice.
Like
and thanks for feeding me.
So you're making all of these different wines, but you're also making sherry now.
Yes.
What led you to
Can you
decide to
believe
do
that? Because South Africa has got a long history of making sherries.
Yeah.
And so we just wanted to honor that. So we went a tiny little winery on the west coast of South Africa in a place called Saldanha Bay.
Okay.
It was an old Shell like a garage, gas station. A terrible financial decision because nobody drinks sherry.
What's the average age of your consumer? In the 70s?
78.
So what's next for you? Sherry, wine, and the farm, and the community.
I'm done.
Yeah, that's it?
No, I'm done. That's it.
You're retiring?
No, I'm done. No, no, I'm not retiring. My daughter said to me the other day, I said to her, you know, listen, when you, one day when you're older and you come and work here on the farm, I'll build you a little house here when you come and work here one day. She said, what? I said, no, I'm going to build you a little house here. Like, she says, I'm going to build you a little house. I'm taking your house. I was like, yo.
Oh, you're already being pushed out.
100%. Yeah, that's so
at least she's building you a house.
No, that child's kicking me out.
Adi,
Thank you. Thanks very much.
this has been amazing. I hope.
Thanks for having me.
Montreal.
I love it. It's amazing. This is really amazing. And it's really nice to share this bottle of wine with you.
Really nice.